Hey everyone, welcome back to another video and the last race preview of the year for 70.3 World Champs in Taupō. I am way more excited for this race than I thought I was going to be, especially after the T100 Grand Final, and with it being this late in the season, I'm just invigorated by the start list and some names that we haven't seen yet. I think anything could happen on both the men's and the women's side. I take back what I said in a previous video where I thought the T100 Grand Final would be a lot bigger than this one, and 70.3 Worlds wouldn't be so big, but it really feels like it, and I think that's for a few main reasons. Number one, big start list. I'm such a fan of a lot of athletes being able to show up to these races, and there's always some guys and gals like Rico Bogan last year who show up out of nowhere and make a big name for themselves. Then at number two, speaking of that, everything's up for grabs here. Whereas in the T100 Grand Final, we kind of knew Taylor Knibb and Martin Van Riel had one hand on the trophy already. So this one feels like there's so much more jeopardy and anything can happen. And then number three, I think the course here is just spectacular. This was supposed to take place back in 2020, but COVID, of course, shut that down. And so this one feels like a long time coming. And yeah, just an epic swim, bike, and run that I think is going to look so good on the broadcast, especially when you only get to do these events, one time at these locations for the most part. It makes it that much more special. So with all that said, we're going to dive into my preview and predictions for both races, but make sure you head to the website and make your own predictions. This is the last fantasy race of the year, and it could be the final fantasy. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to keep it going next year, so make sure you do head down there and make your picks. I've had so much fun with it this year. And this last one going ahead is thanks to Bicycle. I'm sure you've heard of them by now, but if you haven't, they are the world's leading global marketplace for pre-owned bikes and components. There's not just triathlon bikes on there, there's road bikes, gravel bikes, mountain bikes. So if you're looking to switch it up like I'm trying to do this winter, you can find it on there. So definitely head to their website and check them out. But let's talk about the women's race first. And remember, this one takes place a day before the men's. And because of the time zone, you want to check your start time here, because for us in North America, it takes place on Friday. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it's pretty much Taylor Knibb versus the rest, isn't it? After winning pretty much everything. But I think this is the race she is going to be tested the most. And I say that because in Lahti last year, Ashley Gentle, Julie Duran weren't there. And with the amount of other strong women in this race, I think they have an even better chance than they did at the T100 Grand Final. But I'll get more into that in a second. But first, let's go through the other contenders. Kat Matthews, first of all, what a brilliant year she's had, but she didn't do well in Dubai because of a poor swim in the heat there. That really let her never factor. Although she did finish really strong, she wasn't able to be a part of that bike ride, which I think really hindered her. Paula Findlay, same. She had her worst day ever, she said, in Dubai. Really started off poorly in the swim. Then Imogen Simmons, she was having a great race there, then dropped the bottle. She was with Ashley and Julie. I think she'll be there again in this race. And we saw what she did in Lahti last year. Remember, she was off the bike ahead of that chase back, just 2.5 minutes down from Taylor. And she's training with Kyle Smith right now out there, and that's a good sign. And then finally, two others we didn't have at the T100 in Dubai, and that is Carolyn Pohl and Solveig Lovseth. And I think these two could really affect this race. Carolyn, we saw beat Kat at the European Champs in the Talon. So I'm so excited to watch her. And then Solveig, well, she was third there at that race in Talon, but she's put down some really good performances at this distance, especially on the bike. So yeah, she is a real dark horse for this one. But there's another 50 odd women as well racing, and a few of them will definitely play a part in different legs of the race. So let's start off then with the swim to see how this all unfolds. We all know Taylor is going to come out with the water in that front pack, with Sarah Perez-Sala, Jody Stimson as well, I imagine will feature there. And then Julie Duran, we know, really wants to get on Taylor's feet. She was able to do it in Dubai, but that was because of the hot swim. So that would be really important for her. Carolyn Pohl, she's let out a lot of swims. I expect her to be there. Imogen maybe as well could be the other one that could make this one. She had a phenomenal swim in Lahti last year in the wetsuit, so keep an eye out for that. But then we all know Taylor is going to go off on her own. I don't think there's any stopping that. But the pack that could form behind her is the big deal here, with Paula, Imogen, Ashley Gentle, Ellie Salthouse. And then if Kat and Solveig have great swims as well, they're the two I'm really curious about on this swim, because if they do, Solveig's the less likely to have one, I'd say. But if they do, this group at a 12-meter draft zone, if they are all working together and going for broke, it's the end of the season, it's the world champs, I think we could have a real race on our hands. Especially when we remember Dubai, where it was just Ashley, Julie, and Imogen riding for the most part together. If they could have these other women join in and they keep that gap to around 2 minutes, which is, I think, the magic number to be behind Taylor off the bike, I think they could win it. But I still think Taylor hasn't been fully challenged on the run yet, and I think she has a little bit more to give. So that's why I'm thinking those two could run about 2 minutes into her and not much more. And that leads me into my picks, and I have gone for Caroline Pohl in 5th place. I think this would be a great result for her, but she's lacking that run speed that I think will be required at the end of this race on that tough run course. Then Kat, I think I've got to go with her in 4th. What an unbelievable season she will have had if she finishes 4th here, wins the Ironman Pro Series. She's pretty much guaranteed to do so if she just finishes. But I think she'll just be the best of the rest here because of the next 3 women ahead of her. I've got Ashley Gentle then in 3rd place because I think she had to go to the well in Dubai. I'm not sure if she can back it up again so soon. And then in 2nd, I've put Taylor Knibb. Finally, I think for the first time this year, I've put her there because I think Julie Deron does run her down here. She's just improved a little bit in each race, and with the help of everyone in this bike group, I think she's gonna keep it within 2 minutes and then run Taylor down on this tough run course. But I still think it's gonna be super hard to do that. 3rd world title for Taylor Knibb sounds pretty good, I imagine. But you've also got the Pro Series rankings to throw into the mix, even though Kat's pretty much won it, like I said. I think it'll just be fun to see where everybody falls into it and where the prize money goes out to. And we can start with that on the men's side because I think that one is really interesting to follow. It's pretty much as well between Gregory Barnaby and Matthew Marquardt. Right now, with Greg's win in Western Australia, he is the favorite to win it. Matt, in order to beat him, will have to beat Gregory in the race and also finish within 8 minutes and 42 seconds of the leaders. That second part, I think, is relatively easy for him to do. I don't think he'd be further back than 9 minutes off the front, but I think beating Gregory is going to be the harder thing to do. He's been performing really well at the middle distance. He's a front pack swimmer on his day. He was able to stay with Robert Callan on the bike in Australia, and then his run, I would give it to him over Matt. So yeah, I think it would have to take a extra strong swim and bike from Matthew to drop Gregory and then beat him in the race. So it's going to be exciting nonetheless, and I think those two definitely finish in the top 10. But I've got a lot of other guys to mention, and I think I'm backing to be ahead of them in the race overall. And we have to start with Hayden Wilde. He is who everybody's talking about going into this one. It's his home country. He's been eyeing this for ages, and with his run speed, with his bike power that we saw in Melbourne last year, he ran a 108 off of a hard bike there. Yeah, he is scary going into this one, but Kyle Smith is the other home country and hometown athlete who said he is going to go all in, all or bust to win this race, and reckons he can take Hayden on. Listening to him on the Triathlon Hour podcast got me really excited. Thinks if he gets off the bike with Hayden, he is going to back himself all day. So those two for me are really at the top of the list, but closely behind them, Jelle Gaines and Leo Berger. We saw Jelle being the only person ever to beat Martin Van Riel in Lake Las Vegas. He barely missed out on that wildcard spot in Dubai, but I think that was a good thing for him because he's moved with his family now to Australia, was able to get a full block of training in, which a lot of these guys haven't been able to do. And I think this course perfectly suits him. I think it's a little bit similar to Vegas. I think Vegas was a little bit harder, but yeah, with his run, I think we could be in for a real show here. And then Leo Berger, I mean, he is the most consistent athlete all across the board, all 3 disciplines in every race. And I think if anybody is off by 1%, Leo will be the one to win this race. Behind those guys then, Rico Bogan, which it's hard for me to put him there because he's challenged Martin all the way to the line on a couple occasions now, and most recently in Dubai. He looked in fantastic shape, but I think this will come down to a run race, and I think that's where he's just going to lack I had Yuri Kulin on here because I think the dynamics would have really suited him here, but he has sadly since pulled out, unfortunately picking up a sickness that wasn't allowing him to train to get ready. Mathis Margerier then, another top contender we've seen in the T100 Tour. I think this bike course is tailor-made for him, and guys like Hayden Wilde and Kyle Smith will be really glad he's in the race. I think his run's just a little off as well. But then we've got the host of dark horses here that I am just rubbing my hands, just excited to watch. Kasper Stornes, #1 from Norway, looking to prove he is the other Norwegian superstar. He's been eyeing this all season apparently. He even went and checked out the course, did a course preview of it when he was racing a short course race out there earlier this year. And yeah, we've seen what he's done over the distance before at Indian Wells and at a race in Poland this summer. I think he could definitely podium. Then we've got Justice Nieschlag, strong all across the board. Jason West, I think, will go into this one as an underdog after a season at the T100 Tour. I think that 12-meter draft zone, it just suits him so well. Being able to stay in the pack, could pull off a Patrick Lange move here and just wait till the run and go all out. Then I've got Ruben Sapunka. He is an ex-pro cyclist. I've mentioned him a few times on here. He is not the greatest runner, but it's building up slowly but surely. But his bike speed, I think, is up there with Robert Callan, and I think he will feature at the front of this race at some point. So keep your eye out for that guy. And then Jack Moody, he ran the 110 here last year. Kyle Smith still beat him on this course last year, but he's the recent Challenge World Bonus winner. We haven't seen him against top competition in this whole year. But I think if he has a great swim here, similar to Jason West, finds himself at the front of the race for the run, he is licking his chops. So then how does the men's race play out? Well, Kyle said he is hoping this is just a blitzing swim. He's willing to go to the front and do work there. But I don't think he'll have to with the likes of Gregory Harper, Henry Schumann, Nicholas Quinet. Those three guys are like the three best swimmers in middle distance triathlon. Minus, I'd say, this other guy named Hannes Butters, a German athlete who swam so well in Talent. But yeah, you've got Mark Diebrich, Rico Bogan, the list just goes on, and I think these guys will really want a gap on Hayden Wilde. I think they'll probably be talking about it before the race starts, but I think it's really a theme of the race that it's all go from the start gun. And yeah, there's going to be fast transitions with these short course athletes in here. And the bike, I think if there's going to be a breakaway, it's going to have to be from the start, just the way that the packs will organize together. And so I think guys like Kyle and Mathis Margerier are just going to blow the doors off from the beginning. And especially with a descent back into town on this course, that'll make it harder for it to break up. But if we do have all of the contenders coming in together in one big pack into T2, I will be the last person to complain, because then we'll have Hayden Wilde, Kyle Smith, Kasper Stornes, Jelle Gaines, Rico Bogan, Jason West, Jack Moody, Justice Nieschlag. Could you imagine this scenario? How good would that be? I think Hayden would back himself all day, but Kyle said he's going to kill himself for the win here. And then, yeah, Jelle taking it to Martin in Las Vegas. I think he's the other one to watch. And that is what leads me to my picks. And I've started off in 5th place with Rico Bogan, just not having the run pace after going so hard in Dubai. In 4th place, I've gone with Kasper Stornes, brutally not making it on the podium, but impressing the rest of us in showcase, and he will be one for the middle distance future. In 3rd, hard to put him here, but I've got Kyle Smith. I just think he lacks the pace that the next two guys have on the run, but just barely, and that's Jelle Gaines and Hayden Wilde. So I've got Hayden Wilde in 1st. I think, yeah, just being a Kiwi and looking for the win at home with coming 2nd in Paris, I think he really wants this World Championship gold medal. And yeah, I think he's ready for it. So that is pretty much it. Like I said, please let me know yours down below. I'm so excited for 2025. But before that, I've got a couple wrap-up videos for the year with some highlights and a good pump track with all the highlights coming out soon. So be tuned for that, and we'll see you after New Zealand. Have a good one.